we've already lost one newspaper. We've lost the News of the World, which I loved, which was a great newspaper. And as we were saying before, we don't have that many newspapers that we can start throwing them away. The point about freedom of speech is that it's not about the people who you agree with. It's about protecting the people you violently disagree with. That's what's important about a libertarian society. And I think that this is a sort of a madness that's come out of nobody who writes about Murdoch or about the press or about hacking or about any of this scandal. Nobody is a disinterested party. There is nobody who stands back and says, this is an opinion which comes simply from, as David would say, observing the facts. Everybody has a dog in this fight. And that, I think, is why it's become as hysterical as it is. Where it will end, who knows? I have a sense, I have a feeling back at home that people are beginning to think that in a week which has huge news stories, famine, a huge famine in the Horn of Africa, Europe, the euro collapsing, Greece, perhaps Italy going down the pan, Dominic Strauss-Kahn, whatever got him off the front page. We also had a nurse who was killing people in hospitals.
Nassau.
We had NASA. We had Walker. We had the British Army got out of Lashkar, a place that it's been defending and has cost us a lot of dead soldiers. All of those things would have been naturally big front page headline stories, and none of them made it because we were arguing about people's telephones. I think it was a great miasma of hysteria. But where it ends, who knows?
Tom, do you want to say anything?
I just think it's, there was a point at which it changed in the national consciousness, and it was just a whole lot of hacks and executives arguing on the front page.
They said they hacked your phone, and you have said you don't really care.
Couldn't care less. Why God only knows. Most people have probably been hacked. It crossed it when the Millie Dowler and the child, a murdered child, that was crossing a line. Who cares about celebrities, minor celebrities, whoever it is? Therefore, you just don't leave messages on your telephone. Secondly, the fact that this whole thing, imagine if Murdoch suddenly said, I'm going to sell the Times, I'm going to sell the Sun. Imagine who could get hold of that. And, he is, for all, whatever anyone says about him, I think he's very much a journalist's, proprietor. He likes newsprint, he likes stories. I think he's done very, very well with the Sun, News of the World, RIP. I love the News of the World. Shocking sacrifice to go. They should have got rid of the Star or something, not the News of the World. I think it's been blown out of all proportion.
I think the ramifications of the hacking thing will go on and on and on. I think in 3 years' time they'll still be investigating it. I think it's probably going to be, I think that Rupert Murdoch will definitely, obviously, not be running his company by the time they have finished investigating it, and I rather doubt that his son James will ever do so. Because I think it will take on a life of its own in America, where they take these things so incredibly seriously.
David?
I certainly agree that it was a bizarre episode. The British seem now to be, for having been famous for the stiff upper lip, we now seem to go in for national hysteria. And this thing seemed to me to be a cross between Diana and the popish plot of the 17th century, with the same pursuit of the scapegoat and so on. It was in many ways very, very ugly. The thing that I found paradoxical about it was, on the one hand, this was an attack on the greatest owner of tabloids, on tabloid values, on how tabloid stories are constructed. But it only entered the national consciousness when it became tabloid through Millie Dowler. If it hadn't have been for the Millie Dowler, nobody would have given a damn. But that's a purely tabloid story. In one sense, who gives a damn that, okay, it's indecent and obscene, but it's purely tabloid-esque. And this is the paradox. The Guardian was pursuing this high-minded inquiry, but it's only once it gets deep down and dirty that it actually penetrates the national consciousness. And the same sort of thing...
And with hypocrisy.
Well, I'm arguing, yeah, indeed. It's a sort of hypocrisy, but it also tells us something much, much deeper about the culture. All the big questions about media ownership, about privacy and so on, really only caught the popular imagination once they were tabloidized. And I think this tells us something absolutely fundamental about our culture. It really does. The big questions, the so-called big questions, and Adrian was saying a version of this morning, concern very few people and excite very few people. And even when you want to make a big question popular, you've actually got to tabloidize it, which is why politicians parade themselves, why it's become a necessity for a British Prime Minister to have a badly disabled child. It's now not absolutely necessary, you know. If Nick Clegg aspires to it, you know, he and that very smart wife are going to have to consult with a paediatrician and manufacture one. It is, you can't be convincing on the national health unless you've got a badly disabled child. I'm sorry, you know, I'm being brutal, but the thing is as mad and as disgusting as this. And if you want to understand this world better, read the greatest novel on the subject, which is Brave New World. That is the story of our world.